In February 1917, soldiers in Russia stopped obeying their own government. Workers filled the streets of Petrograd. Within days, the most powerful ruler in the Russian Empire lost his throne. The crisis that led to revolution had begun 3 years earlier, in 1914. Russia had entered the First World War with one of the largest armies in the world. But size did not mean strength.
They tell us we are a steamroller. But how do you roll over the enemy when you have no boots? I am sharing a rifle with the man to my left. When he falls, I pick it up. That is our strategy.
Factories struggled to supply the war. Railroads failed to deliver resources. At home, the Russian people were starving.
It's 4 in the morning. The line for bread is 3 blocks long, and the air cuts like a knife. My children are crying at home, but if I leave this spot, they won't eat tomorrow. Does the Tsar know? Does he care?
Tsar Nicholas II believed he ruled by divine right. While Western Europe industrialized and experimented with representative governments, Russia remained largely rural and deeply unequal. Discontent in Russia had been building for years. In 1905, thousands of workers marched peacefully to the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg. They carried petitions asking the Tsar for better wages, safer working conditions, and political reform.
My brother was there that winter. They carried icons and portraits of the Tsar. They believed he would listen.
Instead, imperial guards opened fire on the crowd. The event became known as Bloody Sunday. Hundreds were killed or wounded.
My brother never came home. That was the day many of us stopped believing the Tsar was our protector.
Trust in the monarchy collapsed, and revolutionary movements across Russia began to grow.
We die for a divine right, while the Tsar's generals eat steak in their tents. The Germans have machine guns. We have prayers. Prayers don't stop bullets.
In February 1917, protests erupted in Petrograd. Workers went on strike. Demonstrations filled the streets. Soldiers sent to stop the protests instead joined the crowds.
The Cossacks rode toward us with their sabers drawn. We didn't run this time. We looked them in the eye and shouted, "We are hungry!" And then a soldier lowered his rifle. He stepped beside me. He smiled. The Romanovs are finished.
Tsar Nicholas II abdicated the throne, ending more than 300 years of Romanov rule. A provisional government took control, but it made a critical decision. It continued the war.
New government, same mud. They talk of national honor while we still have no boots. My brother died last winter outside Riga, froze before the Germans even fired. Why are we still fighting? For what?
Meanwhile, another political movement was gaining support, the Bolsheviks. Led by Vladimir Lenin, they argued that workers and peasants should build a socialist state based on the ideas of Karl Marx.
Lenin speaks at the station. He says the factories shouldn't belong to the rich, but to the workers who sweat in them. He doesn't use the fancy words of the lawyers in the Duma. He says peace, land, and bread. That is the only message that matters to me.
In October 1917, Bolshevik forces seized key government buildings in Petrograd. The provisional government collapsed. The Bolsheviks had taken power. The Russian Revolution didn't just change who ruled, it changed what people were told to believe and who had the authority to define truth. The Bolsheviks rejected religious explanations of the world and replaced them with a system rooted in Marxist philosophy, where the state, not the church, became the ultimate authority. This new worldview wasn't just taught, it was broadcast, printed, and enforced.
I've traded my imperial insignia for a red armband. Russia has signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk and withdrawn from the Great War. We aren't fighting for the Tsar anymore. We're fighting for ourselves.
But revolution did not bring peace. Instead, Russia descended into a brutal civil war. The Red Army, led by the Bolsheviks, fought the White Army, a loose alliance of monarchists, liberals, and foreign supporters.
First it was the Germans. Now it is brother against brother. The Reds take our grain to feed the army. The Whites burn the village if we help the Reds. The Whites are disorganized, fighting each other as much as the enemy, but the suffering is the same. When will the dying stop?
The Civil War devastated the country, but by 1922, the Bolsheviks had won. Russia was transformed into the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the USSR, the world's first major communist state. The revolution did more than overthrow a czar. It attempted to reshape society itself. Private property was abolished. Land, factories, and industry were placed under state control in the name of building a socialist society. Religious institutions lost influence as the new government promoted scientific materialism and state atheism, believing religion had supported the old social order. Loyalty to the revolutionary state was expected to come before loyalty to traditional institutions such as church, community, or even family. Power became concentrated in the hands of the Communist Party. Those who resisted or questioned the new system often faced arrest, exile, or imprisonment. The Russian Revolution didn't just change who ruled. It changed what people were told to believe and who had the authority to define truth. In later decades, particularly under Joseph Stalin in the 1930s, a vast system of forced labor camps known as the Gulag would expand across the Soviet Union.
The war is over, but the world is unrecognizable. No more Tsar, no more masters, but no more choices either. We have a new flag, but do we have the bread we were promised?
The Russian Revolution did not just change Russia. It created the first large communist state and introduced a powerful ideological challenge to capitalism and democratic systems. For the rest of the 20th century, this conflict of ideas would shape global politics. The Cold War that followed would not only be a contest of armies and economies, it would also be a struggle between competing visions of how societies should be organized. The Russian Revolution did not just change Russia, it changed the world.